Have you seen these insects? This one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is it? Yeah, that's a honeybee. So we are going to talk about the social organization, the social structure and communication in honeybees. Now, this particular species, now there are several honeybee species, Apis cerana, Apis dosata, Apis mellifera, etc., etc. Now, this particular species, Apis mellifera, is the species that we see in the Asian region, including Sri Lanka, right? It's not a big insect. You all have seen in honeybees. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about the honeybee hive, the place where they live. It's also called the honeybee nest or the honeybee colony. And then the social organization in a hive. Now there are three groups of adult individuals in a honeybee colony. And they are the queen, number one, number two, the worker bees, female worker bees, and number three, the male bees, commonly known as the drones. So those are also known as the bee castes, queen caste, worker bee caste, and the drone caste. And thereafter, we will learn about the communication in a beehive. Bees communicate with each other using chemicals, that is olfactory communication, and they also communicate with each other visually, using visual signals. That is what you call the visual communication. They communicate with each other using touch, that is tactile communication, and also by sound, auditory communication. Now I have to record this lecture.
Recording in progress.
It has been recorded. So in this lecture, therefore, we are going to talk about the social organization and communication in honeybees, right? So let us first look at the honeybee hive, honeybee nest. Do I have any person in here who has seen a beehive? කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවද මීමැසි කූඩයක් දැකලා තියෙන අය? කූඩුවක් නැද්ද? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, you have. Good. So, but I believe that none of you have seen inside the beehive. So I'll first show you natural as well as artificial beehives. So in this slide, this drawing, sorry, this photograph shows you the entrance of a beehive. Now this beehive is located, the bees have constructed the nest inside the tree trunk, a hollow tree trunk. ගස්සතුල බෙන තියෙන ඔන්න ගැඹුරු බෙන අස්සේ තමයි මේ කට්ටිය සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කූඩු හදන්නේ. හරිද? Now if you remove a part of that tree trunk, then you can see the inside of it. So vertically, what we see is that there are several bee combs. Bee combs, me siras staravalta kiyana bee combs kiyala. Those are the places where they store honey, as well as, you know, pollen, paraga. And also these are the places where the queen bee lays her eggs, and the young individuals are developed inside the small cells. I'll show you some photographs later. Now this is a wild beehive. Now, so inside it is extremely complex. Outside there is only a small hole through which they can go in and they can come out. So this is the entrance. Reared. Honeybees are domesticated. Honeybees are domesticated for several reasons. Number one, to produce honey, to get honey yield. Now honey is considered as one of the most nutritious food for a long period of time. People have been using honey. And then honeybees are also reared in agricultural lands to facilitate pollination. If there is successful pollination, then it is possible that we get a good agricultural crop yield, right? And then the honeybees are domesticated in order to get the wax, because the combs are constructed from wax. The wax is secreted by the honeybees. Right now, this wax is used to produce, some cosmetics, candles, lip balms, right, and also some, perfumes, etc. So, honeybees are extremely important species, insect species, both commercially as well as ecologically. Ecologically, they are important because they help to pollinate. If we don't have honeybees, the world would not have been this beautiful today. So the bees evolved a long time ago, perhaps many millions of years ago, right? So we are going to talk about these honeybees today. We're going to talk about them. Now, honeybees are domesticated in artificially constructed boxes known as bee boxes. Now, in Sri Lanka, we have a bee farm somewhere in Bandarawela, Bindunuwara in Bandarawela. So let us consider about the structure of a beehive. Now, as you see in this slide, you see now this is a vertical section of a beehive. Now, this is the entrance through which the bees can enter into a natural beehive that is constructed inside the tree trunk. Now, this is the tree trunk, right? Somewhere here is the entrance. So this is the diagrammatic representation. So inside the beehive, there is perhaps one or two large, homes. Honeycombs. Now, usually in the upper part of the comb, honey is stored. At the very lower part of the honeycomb, there are special cells where the queen lays eggs, and from those small cells are known as queen cells. So from the eggs laid inside these queen cells, new queens will emerge. So between the queen cell area and the honey storing area, there is another. There are two other parts. Right above the queen cell area is what you call the brood nest area. That is where the queen lays eggs from which the worker bees will emerge. The worker bees. Okay. So between the brood nests and the honey storage area, there is another small region where pollen is stored. The bees collect both nectar. Nectar කියලා කියන්නේ අර මල් වල තියෙන හරි චූටි රස ද්‍රව්‍ය. ඒක තමයි කියන්නේ nectar කියලා. Nectar is very different from honey, right? Now, nectar is, collected from flowers by the bees. They bring it back to the beehive and they convert the nectar into honey, an extremely concentrated liquid. And then that liquid is stored inside the honey cells. Now, this photograph shows you a honeycomb. honey storage, honey cells. These are the honey cells. Now, this it's golden color thing is actually the honey. You see these bees. Now, they also collect, not only the nectar they collect, they also collect pollen, paraga. Now, there are pollen collecting bees as well as nectar collecting bees. So, after the pollen is collected, pollen is also brought into the hive and then stored in pollen combs, pollen cells. Pollen cells. These pollen combs are known as bee bread. Bee bread, extremely nutritious, highly proteinous kind of food substance that contains a lot of protein. Now, honey contains a lot of carbohydrates, sugar. Now, these are the cells where the queen lays eggs from which the young larvae would emerge. Baby bees. So these are the brood combs. See, brood nest, brood combs or brood nests. And these are the pollen combs. You see the pollen combs, both the pollen cells. Now these are the honey storage cells, right? So in a natural beehive, like I said, there is only one or two large combs, but in an artificial bee box, it is possible to have sometimes 9 or sometimes 18 honeycombs. It's possible. Now, when you consider about the social organization, the social structure, now this is the structure of the beehive. Now, when you consider the social structure, you see, in a bee colony, in a single bee colony, it is possible to have around 50,000 to 8,000 honeybees. In a single colony, they all live together. Since they all live together, they are known as eusocial animals. Eusocial animals. Eusocial animals. Do you see that? Eusocial animals. They are social animals. They live as a society, as a group. In a beehive, typically, there are 3 adult groups. Now, the first adult group is known as the worker bee group or the worker caste. They are diploid females, right? Diploid females. Thousands of them can be seen. And I have indicated here their lifespan as well. They can live up to 6 weeks. They are somewhat small. Now, compared to the worker bees, or just workers, the other category is what you call the queen, Regina. You will understand why they are called Vedakario in a little while. Now, the second category is the queen. There is only one queen in a single bee colony. One queen. Like England, there is one queen. Okay? And she is somewhat long, bigger than the workers. She is also a diploid individual. And she can live up to 4 years. 4 years. The third category is known as the drones. Drones. Pirimimesu. They are haploid. It is a very strange thing in the animal kingdom that the workers and the queen in a beehive are diploid, whereas the drones, the males, are haploid. In a bee colony, there are about 500 or sometimes 1,000, less than 1,000 usually, drones. They live up to about 8 weeks. So the longest living individual in a beehive is, of course, the queen. You will understand. Now, of these 3 castes, bee castes, the queen is fertile. The drones are also fertile. That is to say that the queen and the drones are the only two groups inside the bee colony who can reproduce. Unfortunately, the bees, the workers, they are females, but they are infertile. They are made infertile by the queen. I will tell you how it is done. It is done by a chemical, right? Produced by the queen, a pheromone. Now you see in this photograph, it has been captured from inside the beehive. There are hundreds, thousands of bees live in the same place without fighting. They are extremely social animals. They don't fight like the people in the parliament in Sri Lanka. They don't fight. They talk to each other, not verbally, by many means, and then live as a very uniform group, united group. In addition to these adult bees, there are also, developing eggs, the larva and pupa in the hive. Now, I will tell you about the function, the roles carried out by each bee caste. Let us talk first about the queen, because she is the most important person in the bee nest, beehive. Now, as you see in this diagram, you see we have the queen here. Now, she is always surrounded by the workers. She is always surrounded by the workers. When a group of workers around the queen leaves her, another group comes. When they leave, another group comes. So on, day and night, night and day, day and night, night and day, the queen is surrounded by the workers. Now, there must be a reason for this. So we will find out the reasons why the queen is always surrounded by the queens. Sometimes some of the worker bees, will feed the queen. මේ රජිනට කවන්නත් ඕනේ. එයාට කන්න බෑ. කට ළඟටම දානවා. In order to feed the queen, specially produced food called royal jelly is used. Now the royal jelly, royal jelly. Now royal jelly is produced by the workers. For that they use, the honey, they use pollen, they mix honey and pollen with their enzymes and other substances secreted from the body. And it is said that this royal jelly is a highly nutritious substance. Okay, now day and night, the queen is fed by the workers with royal jelly. Now, the queen has two major functions to do. Now, the first function, I told you earlier that she is reproductively active. Now, she is like an egg-laying machine, day and night. She lays eggs. In a single day, you will be amazed that in a single day, she would lay about 2,000 eggs, 2,000 eggs inside those small cells. In a single day, 2,000 eggs. Can you imagine? 2,000 eggs, right? And the second important function carried out by the queen is controlling and maintaining the colony cohesiveness. Now, she is the person who keeps the colony as a united group, and she controls all the activities. That is the purpose of the queen, isn't it? Like in England, the Queen Elizabeth II, she controls most of the crucial activities in England. Likewise, the queen in the bee colony also controls extremely crucial activities inside the hive. the only difference is that this queen, the bee queen, lays lots of eggs, whereas that old Queen England, she is not producing anymore. She is, as far as I remember, she is about 90 years old. She is very old. So that is how it is. So you should understand, therefore, the queen in the bee colony performs two important functions. Number one, I'm telling again, laying eggs. Number two, controlling and maintaining the colony cohesiveness. When you consider the workers, now the workers, they do all the activities inside the hive or outside the hive, right? They do all the activities, all the chores. මේ chores කියලා කියන්නේ ගෙදර වැඩ කියන එක ඉංග්‍රීසි වචනේ තේරුම, right? Works carry out almost all the chores in the hive. Now I have listed some important activities the bees, the workers perform. Number one, they build the combs. The queen does not do this. It is the workers, day and night, they construct the bee combs. And then some of the worker bees would leave the beehive, then fly out and search for flowers, for nectar and pollen. Not only that, they carry the nectar from flowers and pollen from flowers back to the hive. What you see in this particular photograph is a bee, a worker. She is carrying pollen. Now the pollen is carried as a bowl, pollen bowl, in her hind legs. කකුලේ එල්ලගෙන තමයි මේ බෝලේ එන්නේ. හරිද? මල් පැණි නම් බොනවා, ඇඟ ඇතුළට ගන්නවා. බට්ටම ගන්නවා, මල් පැණි බොනවා. හැබැයි පරාග ගුලි කරගෙන ඉන්නේ, ගුලියක් ගහගෙන. මේ එක පරාග බෝලයක පරාග දහස් ගණනක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන් පරාග කණිකා, right? No, in pollen there are lots of proteins, minerals, salts, etc. Pollen and nectar are the major food for the bees, so they eat the very extremely good food that is available in the nature, nectar and pollen, right? So not only do they collect pollen and nectar, they carry the nectar and then they unload the pollen and nectar at the hive, and then nectar is converted to honey. After conversion, the honey is stored in the honey cells, and in a vertical comb, it is possible that the honey to flow out. Therefore, in order to prevent that, they cover the opening of the cell, they seal the honey stored cells. That's what they do. Then collect and carry pollen to the hive, store the pollen, seal the pollen, stored pollen cells, and then they produce royal jelly. And this whitish substance is what you call the royal jelly, right? Usually, like I told you, the queen is fed with royal jelly. So that is the reason for this. You see, now the queen lays about 2,000 eggs that I told you earlier, right? With legs, with the eggs. So much of these eggs, a lot of nutrients are lost from her body. So there must be a way for her to get back these nutrients. And that nutrient loss is compensated by the royal jelly. It contains, like I said, lots of carbohydrates, lots of minerals, proteins, and other essential nutrients, royal jelly. Now this royal jelly is extracted from the artificial honeybees and honeybee colonies for human consumption as well. Now it is extremely costly, royal jelly. So not only that, the workers attend to the young larva, right? They nurse. Then remove the dead larva from the hive. This is possible due to some, diseases, etc. Some of these larvae to be dead, and the dead larvae, if they, begin to rot inside the cells, it is possible that the entire colony be, affected by a particular disease. One not many diseases there are. So it is as soon as they sense there are dead individuals inside, so they remove it and then produce antibacterial and antifungal substances. They also air condition the hive. That they do by fanning. මේ තටු වේගෙන් සලලා තමයි එක දිශාවකට මේ දාස් කනක එකතු වෙලා තටු සලනකොට ඇතුලේ තියෙන අර උණුසුම එළියට ඇදිලා යනවා. hive එකේ තියෙන උෂ්ණත්වය. So that is air conditioning. And then they also need water. So there are some water collecting workers, and then they fight the enemies. If the enemies come, for example, it is possible that some enemies like ants, black ants, hornets, bambaru, and lizards, etc., to eat the bees inside. Therefore, as soon as they detect an enemy, the workers will sting it. Hari? මේ ඕගොල්ලෝ දකින්නේ මෙයාගොල්ලෝ මේ එක worker bee කෙනෙක් මේ අපේ ඇඟිල්ලක් මේ තියෙන මේ ඇඟිල්ලට මෙයා විදිනවා මේ විදින්නේ පස පැත්තේ මේ විදින මේ ස්ටිං එක ඇත්තටම එයාගේ ප්‍රජනක අවයවය මේ ප්‍රජනක අවයවයෙන් එයාට ප්‍රජනනය කරන්න බෑ මේ ප්‍රජනක අවයවය අර queen විසින් ක්ෂීණ කරලා තියෙනවා මේ එක උලක් බවට මේකට විෂක් තියෙනවා ඉතින් ඒ විෂ සහිත මේ උල පිටිපස්සෙන් ඇඟ මේ හතුරගේ ඇඟට ඇතුල් කරපුවාට පස්සේ හතුරගේ අසාත්මික ප්‍රතික්‍රියාවක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. හරි. ඉතින් ඒ අසාත්මික ප්‍රතික්‍රියා ඒ කියන්නේ ක්ෂණිකම් වගේ එම ස්ථානයේ ඉදි වෙනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට මැරිලා යන්නත් පුළුවන්. හතුරා. One other thing is that after removing the sting, what happens to the worker bee is that she also dies. මරාගෙන මැරෙනවා. Like හරිද? මරාගෙන මැරෙනවා. They also kill the additional drones. මාර වැඩ නේද මේගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ workers ලා. So almost all the activities inside the hive are carried out by the workers. Now let's consider about the third class. That is, what is the third class? Drones. Yeah. Now drones, they do nothing other than mating with the queen. Maha kammelio jatiyak me pirimi sattu tika. So I have indicated that in here the drones live only to mate with the queen. They don't go in search of nectar and pollen, right? They don't build homes. They don't fight with enemies. They only mate with the queen, right? So during the mating season, usually the mating season occurs not throughout the year, but in a certain period of year, there are lots of flowers. ඉතින් ඔය මල් පිපෙන හොඳටම උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අප්‍රේල් මාර්තු ලංකාව ගත්තොත් එම අප්‍රේල් මාර්තු වගේ මාසවල තමයි හුඟක්ම මල් පිපෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ හුඟක්ම කැම තියෙනවා මේ කාලේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට. මල් වලින් නෙක්ටර් පොලන් එකතු කරගන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ අප්‍රේල් මැයි මාර්තු අප්‍රේල් මැයි විශේෂයෙන් මාර්තු අප්‍රේල් මේ කාලේ තමයි මේ කට්ටියන්ගේ ප්‍රජනක සමය පටන් ගන්න. කැම බීම තියෙන කාලේ තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ ඒ අදාළ වැඩ කරන්නේ. Right? So what happens is that when the weather condition is good in the breeding season, some of the drones leave the hive. Hari? ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ වදයෙන් එළියට ගිහිල්ලා අහසේ මීටර 50ක් 60ක් විතර ඉහළ අහසේ එක තැනක රැස් වෙනවා. මෙන්න මේ මම පෙන්වන්නේ මේක. පිරිමි සත්ත්ව විතරයි එතෙන්ට රැස් වෙන්නේ. This area is what you call the drone congregation zone. This is it. හරිද? Drone congregation zone. Now, after the drones left, now the queen also flies out. Usually, the queen is at this stage, she has never been mated with any other being, so she is the virgin queen. Then, එයත් යනවා කොල්ල පස්සේ. ගිහිල්ලා අහස උඩදී ප්‍රජනනය කරනවා. හරිද? ඉතින් මේකේ අමුතු ලස්සන වැඩේ කියලා කියන්නේ මේ queenට මේ එක මැස්සෙක් විතරක් ප්‍රජනනය කරන එක යාට සෑහීමකටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Now this one is the queen, the lower one. I am showing you a photograph indicating mating of the queen and a drone. Now drone is on the top, right? Then මෙයාගේ තියෙනවා පිරිමි සතාගේ sperms අඩංගු කරගත්ත පොඩි sac එකක්. We call it the spermatheca. Spermatheca. මොනකෝ මම ලියන්නම්කෝ. ඕදම්. මම මේක ලියන්නම්. SPER spermatheca. Spermatheca. So the queen removes the spermatheca of the drone. Immediately after the spermatheca is removed, the drone dies. එයා ගුවනේ සිට බිමට වැටෙනවා. මතක තියාගන්න මේ කට්ටිය ගුවනේ තමයි ප්‍රජනනය කරන්නේ. ගුවන් ගත වෙලා උඩ. Now queen selects another drone. Or another drone is attracted to the queen. So the queen mates with the second drone also, and its spermatheca is again removed, and then the second drone is also dies. So this continues as long as she mates with 10, sometimes 30 drones. One after another, one after another, right? So now, after collecting a sufficient number of spermatheca, that is to say, after collecting a sufficient amount of sperms from the bee, from the males, now she comes back. And after that, she will never leaves the hive for mating. ආයි කවදාවත් එයා මේට් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ජීවිතේට එකපාරයි මේට් කරන්නේ. මතක තියාගන්න. ඒ මේට් කරනකොට එක මැස්සෙක් එක්ක නෙමෙයි පිරිමි මැස්සෝ 10ක් 20ක් 30ක් විතර එයා මේට් කරනවා. Now these sperms are sufficient for all her life. Now she keeps the sperms and the spermatheca inside her body until she dies. And the sperms are used to fertilize her eggs and then to produce unfertilized, 2N eggs. Right. Now let me tell you about the communication in honeybees. Now, honeybee communication is widely studied area in animal behavior. I told you about Carl von Frisch, the Austrian scientist who studied the communication pattern in honeybees nearly about 3 decades, nearly about 30 years. He very patiently observed the honeybee communication, right? Now, they communicate, the honeybees communicate using chemicals. These chemicals are, of course, the pheromones, right? Pheromonal or olfactory communication. Then the honeybees also communicate using visual signals, that is visual communication. They also communicate by touching each other, tactile communication, and finally they use sound to communicate with each other. Therefore, they use auditory communication as well, right? Now, this is, the round dance and the waggle dance. I explained to you earlier in one of my lectures, and this is a unique way of visual communication that is seen in the honeybees, right? Now, let us first talk about the olfactory communication. Excuse me for a while. I'm back again. Now, the olfactory communication, like I said, it is done by the production of pheromones. Now, in this diagrammatic representation, I have shown you some important pheromone-producing glands in honeybees. These glands are, number one, the mandibular gland. Right? It is located in the head, inside the head capsule, and that at the end of their legs, there are again another kind of glands known as tarsal glands. Tarsal glands, and below the dorsal segments in the body, in the abdominal region, there are several glands known as tergal glands. Tergal glands. And at the rear side of the body, abdomen, there are two other types of glands. Number one, the Nasonov gland and the Dufus gland. Nasonov and the Dufus gland. So those are the five major hormone-producing glands seen in honeybees: the mandibular gland, the tarsal glands, tergal glands, Nasonov glands, and the Dufus gland. Now, I told you the queen is the queen basically has two major functions. Number one, laying eggs. Number two, controlling the community, the bee community, the beehive, right? So scientists have long been wondering how this happens. So through research and observations, mainly made on the queen, they have identified these major glands, right? And these major glands are best developed in the queen. So therefore, the pheromone production in the queen is widely studied, particularly the mandibular gland. Now, this is the biggest gland, hormone-producing gland in bees, that is located inside the head capsule. Now, this particular gland, mandibular gland, produces a special pheromone which is known as the mandibular pheromone, queen mandibular pheromone, because it is mainly produced by the queen, generally known as the QMP, queen mandibular pheromone, right? Now, the queen mandibular pheromone, it has several functions, right? Now, this pheromone mainly, now scientists have analyzed the chemical structure of this pheromone as well. So according to them, now this contains an aromatic organic compound known as 9-oxo-2-decenoic acid. 9-oxo-2-decenoic acid. And there is also a mixture of different other aromatic compounds, but the main chemical substance is the 9-oxo-2-decenoic acid, right? Now, daily she produces about 500 milligrams of this mixture. See, now this is necessary. There are about 80,000. Imagine there are about 80,000 bees in a single beehive. So a large amount of this pheromone is necessary to control all of them. If there are only one or two, worker bees around, then she would not produce that much pheromones. But since the number is extremely high, it is necessary that that she produces a lot of these pheromones, right? So if the queen is unable to produce a sufficient number of pheromones, this mandibular pheromone, now the worker bees become quite restless. They're quite restless. So the scientists have observed this as well. Usually when the queen grows older, the amount of mandibular pheromones that she can produce, begins to drop. So when that happens, the worker bees become somewhat agitated, restless. Then it says that the queen is old. Now it is time that we raise a new queen, right? So raising a new queen is a decision made by the workers. And for them to take the decision, what caused is the reduced level of mandibular pheromone level, right? Now, its functions are, number one, it inhibits the ovarian development in the